As is often the case with tempered glass, this is a pretty tough screen protector. I've got my key here, and I'm just kind of scraping over the top, and you don't see any marks left behind. So let me grab something and get a little more leverage. And I'm really putting some reasonable force onto this screen with the key, tapping on it, scraping across it, much more than you're likely to encounter in your pocket, and it still looks like new. So let's check it out. This is the Halo Back smartphone screen protector sent to me by the Outbounds company. So I wanted to take a look at this and see how it works, because I myself am not really an iPhone user, and one of the reasons is because the navigation is a little bit different than Android, which is what I'm used to, or Windows. So the idea of having a back button on an iPhone seemed like a great one to me. So you can see this has got real nice retail packaging. Down here at the bottom, they're going to add a button on the left-hand side of the home button that will allow you to go back to the previous screen, because a lot of times you have to reach all the way across your phone to hit the back button. So there are a few situations where you can actually swipe from left to right, but in many cases that's not an option. So it's kind of nice, or would be nice, to be able to just hit back instead. So I'm going to put this onto a 6 Plus, where you can see that despite having a larger screen, there are still relatively small arrows down here that you need to push to go back and forth. Now you can swipe left and right from this particular screen with your finger if you want to navigate, but it's a little trickier to do that with your thumb. So on the back there's some documentation, not a whole lot in the way of details, other than on the inside of the package they do show you how to install the screen. Now this box was really interesting. I couldn't figure out at first how to open it up, but if you look down here at the bottom, they've got one of these little zip tearaway things that always fall apart. This has been my experience anytime I deal with FedEx or USPS. Those little tear off things never want to tear all the way across, so just kind of dig in here and get this thing opened up. And once I got the bottom back open, we can slide out the contents. Now what's cool about this is that it comes with a guide, a template, so to speak, that goes over the phone, which is really cool. I think every tempered glass should come with these, or you should at least keep one on hand. Of course, you have to have one specifically for the tempered glass that you're working with, because even within the same phone model, they will vary in size a little bit. So this is made for this tempered glass, probably will not work with a lot of the others, but as you can see, it lines everything up nice and evenly so that you get a near perfect installation just by putting the template on top here. There's one small piece of tape at the top that you'll remove later on, and then move the template away from the phone. So what I'm going to do first of all is open up the contents here. You can see these will generally come with an alcohol wipe and a polishing cloth, and then they also have a dust remover that's just a one-sided piece of tape that you can use to pull dust off the screen if you find any little specks, but hopefully we won't have to use that at all. If you have a nice clean environment and you make sure there's no dust on there or fingerprints before you start, it'll come out looking nice. And you can see I've got this tempered glass here that I want to remove, and a lot of people have told me that once you put these on, it's a done deal, you can't take them off, but I'm going to argue that that is not always the case. This has been on here for some time, and I will add a little bit of heat to the surface just to get it nice and warm up to about 90-95 degrees, and you'll see we can actually remove this from the phone. So the trick here, of course, is to make sure that you use a very thin pry tool and you get the tempered glass off in one piece. So I'll start down here at the bottom corner, and you don't want to go too far inside and get a bunch of dust and stuff underneath here, but you see if you just take it nice and slow after applying the heat, you can actually get this all off in one piece without breaking it. And if you set it down on a very clean surface, something that it won't stick to, like a wax coated piece of paper, technically you can put this thing back on. You'll see now that if I lay it back on top of the phone and do my best to try to line things up straight here, it will actually re-adhere to the surface a second time after being removed. And again, as I said, it's been on here for some time already, but these things definitely give you an opportunity to reuse them at least once if you have to, if you're very careful about taking them off. So that's kind of nice in case you have any flaws, or maybe you need to move it over to another screen. I'm not sure really why you would do that, but kind of nice to know that you can. All right, so let's go ahead and take this back off, and then we will install the halo back. Right, so we want to make sure we get the bottom part of the plastic peeled off, and also make sure that your surface, again, is very clean, free of dust, because anything that's trapped between the glass of your screen and the screen protector is going to be there permanently unless you remove it. So we'll take the alcohol pad and wipe this down until we get it nice and clean, and then we'll dry it off with this little polishing cloth. And again, you'll see me go back a couple of times and just keep cleaning it, because it always seems like one little speck of dust will fall while you're working on the surface. Now I'll go ahead and pull the plastic off from the inside of the screen protector, and then as soon as possible, we kind of want to get this back on top. If you have some canned air or any other method of blowing dust off, that works out pretty well. It's kind of tough to blow on this. If you try blowing on it with your mouth, you'll generally accumulate moisture, so it's best not to do that. But you'll see me just wipe this probably one more time here, unless I've got all the dust off. And then when we lay this down, the one thing that I might do a little bit differently next time is just go ahead and lay this on the screen and then cut that tape at the top. I started to do that the first time, and I thought there might be an easier way to do this. I was pretty much going to peel the outer protector off from the top end, but that didn't work off. But you'll see here shortly that I'll just take a razor blade and kind of slice through that tape. You could also peel it off, I'm sure, if you got underneath it. But the first time I didn't cut all the way through because I was a little concerned about making contact with the screen of the phone, which turned out not to be a problem. You can see how these things just kind of go right into place by themselves. If it wasn't for the fact that the top end is being held up by the tape right now, this thing would just fall right into place. I do like this template. These are excellent for installing screen protectors. Now go ahead and cut through the Scotch tape that's at the top here. We can pop out the template, and then we'll make sure that we move all the bubbles, remove all the bubbles. You see there's one here on the left, and if you just kind of smooth those out, don't push too hard, don't want to break the screen. But these, again, will just tend to kind of clear themselves up. It's interesting because there's not technically an air bubble there, but there is a little spot. And after a few hours, at the most a day, those things will just kind of disappear, which is awesome. Much easier than working with the old school plastic screen protectors. So if you do see something like that, just give it a little bit of rub, and that will smooth it out. We'll go ahead and take the outer piece of plastic off here and then check out how this thing works. So let's go into, again, you can see the bubble there. Try to smooth that out a little bit. Push it towards the edge, and it looks like the majority of it is pretty much gone. Right, so we have a nice clean installation. And now we get to go in and check out the back button feature, which doesn't seem to be going back at the moment. There isn't a lot of information inside the packaging as far as how to operate this screen. It seems like it would be pretty obvious, but for some reason I put this on and started clicking around here on the bottom and nothing was happening. Turns out I was using this thing completely wrong. The way this works is that the back button is at the bottom left-hand side of the corner, and it activates whatever is in the top left-hand corner of the screen. So you can see here, every time I click it, I'm changing cancel and edit from my message menu. If I go into the calendar and I select a date, once that back arrow appears up at the top left corner, now everything works just fine. So kind of silly, a little bit of user error there on my part. So let's check this out from the photo gallery, where you can see again that the button actually is functional. I'm going to go all the way in here and open up a file, and then as long as we have the option at the corner there, we can hit the back button and go to the previous screen. And that's how the technology works, is it just transmits a signal from down here at the bottom of the screen up to where that back button is supposed to be, or whatever other menu option is in that location. Now, I noticed that Amazon had a lot of people complaining about this screen protector not working properly, and I am convinced it is just a matter of improper use. At the beginning, I was about to give this thing a very negative review, but it turns out it works almost 100% of the time. You do have to touch it like a normal touchscreen. Every once in a while, it doesn't highlight the way that it's supposed to. You can see it pulled up the keyboard screen here after it highlighted my URL menu at the top. So for the most part, anytime you have an option at the top left-hand side of the screen, all you have to do is hit the button and it works as advertised. And I think that the manufacturer could do just a slightly better communication to the end customers, because there are probably a lot of people out there who have this screen and are screen protector and are convinced that it doesn't work, when in fact it most likely works just the way it is supposed to. If you found the video helpful, hit the like button, share it with your friends, post it to your favorite social network, or visit us on the web at gocellphonerepair.com. Thanks for watching.